if you don't have the violence component taken care of, you're almost guaranteed not to excel in those sports. When you get into CrossFit, you got to be tough, but in a different way. And people struggle with that concept. You're like, oh, well, who's afraid of money or fame or glory, whatever? But I do think that it's a real thing. My dad was not like that. He was a very poor, violent athlete that basically made it out of his country with violence.
Yeah. You were faster, clearly faster than everyone except for the last round.
Yeah, that girl was fast.
She was
yeah.
super impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were talking about the camp intros where I dominated.
Technically, you pulled the cone out from the last person. You got to explain the game.
Yeah, all right. So this is how it started because Chris went to the bathroom. Me and Brandon were about to press the record button, and we were both going towards it. Like,
who wants to do it?
Yeah, who's going to touch it? And then I started talking smack about this game that I beat Brandon in the camp intros. Basically, you put a cone down in between, and you play a game of like follow the leader. So James was yelling out feet. So you put your hands to your feet. Head, put your hands to your head. Knees. And at some point in that telling you where to go, he says, cone, and you got to grab the cone. So I was planning on not being part of all the icebreakers. And then Adam was like, you got to challenge Brandon. And I was like, yes, let's fucking do it. And then I got all fired up. And
I'll just put that little clip in here right now.
Toes, knees, elbows, bums, ankles, coat, head, coat.
Oh, my ego needs it.
Toes, heads, ears, elbows, knees, toes, heads, coat.
Is it me and you? Finals, baby. I'm nervous.
Take your position. Heads, toes, elbows, toes, ankles, heads, elbows, knees. Good.
I think you got it. I just have stronger hands.
Okay. Yeah, I straight up just grabbed Max's whole hand. He was way faster on the cone, and I just like.
I went to grab, and I just felt Brandon's hand grab on, and I was pulling my arm back.
I squeezed hard too.
He really got my arm.
That's awesome.
You weren't the only one. Somebody else grabbed my hand too.
I mean,
maybe it was
good for you. You're faster.
I
have to drink my coffee to get my voice right.
Yeah. So you lost your voice doing what? Cheering for Mike?
Well, no, I was very sick last Sunday. So now it's been a week and a day. We're filming this on a Monday. And I kind of lost my voice, and then it was fine. And then when I got back into the office and we started talking and doing things, I just noticed each day was getting worse and worse. And then sure enough, the first day of the camp, we did this thing where another one of the games, it's rock, paper, scissors. And so as I started screaming for Mike as he kind of kept winning these matches or whatever, the group follows the person that wins around. And it's like their entourage. You keep screaming louder and louder. By the end of that, I couldn't talk. I was like this the entire weekend.
Oh, I didn't think about that. That might have been when I scremed because I really got. I was
was
like, Mike.
That was the first thing we did at the camp, like the first actual thing everyone did, and that was went to like a
0 to 100.
1,000.
Ready?
man, it was hype. That's awesome. Do you have that footage too?
Yeah,
You
I'll
definitely-
maybe sneak that in there
Oh,
too.
it was fantastic.
The I've been watching WWE documentaries or not even what's it called, OHW, Ohio OVW.
OVW.
So Ohio Valley Wrestling Club is basically like one of the feeders to the WWE back in the day.
Used to
John
be, yeah.
Cena, like The Rock, a bunch of high level people went up through it, and then WWE.
What is this documentary called? I still haven't watched.
I don't remember.
Okay, it's
Yeah.
on Netflix.
No, I think it was on Prime Plus.
Okay.
Yeah, Paramount Plus or
Okay.
something. Look up like Al Snow documentary or
Al
something if
Snow.
you're interested. But it covers this like feeder system for WWE wrestling, because WWE wrestling essentially came over and took out all the small players. Basically, like, this is the only
Right.
small town operation left that does wrestling, and it's run by this guy who used to be a WWE wrestler. And it walks through like their stories, their training, their lifestyle. And I watched it and like kind of fell in love with the theatrics of it. Like they really explain the concept of developing a heel and what a heel does, and that they're trying to boo the crowd, and like that it's almost like this game interaction between them.
You're
that-
creating emotions for the audience.
yeah.
right?
So
This is so awesome, by the way, for me to listen to, like a normie talk about.
yeah, yeah,
business.
yeah.
I'm so entrenched as a fan. I'm not like in the business, but it's just, it'd be like y'all hearing like someone who just started CrossFit.
Yeah.
I went to regionals.
Yeah,
games,
it was
wow.
awesome.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I watched that, and then I watched the Kurt Angle documentary, who is a world. He's an actual gold medal wrestler,
Right.
Like from real wrestling, or not real wrestling, but sport
You just-
wrestling.
you stabbed him in the heart.
Yeah, I know. From sport wrestling, and he transferred into WWE, and it tells his whole story and shows his training montage of like what he was doing back then in the like when he was really preparing for the Olympics, and he broke his neck in a world championship match, and then won the actual match with a broken neck, and broke his neck in multiple WWE things. And it was just this like cool story, but he was the heel. And I felt like during that game, the coaches were like kind of booing me, or like didn't want me to
No one
win.
wanted Max to
and
win.
I fucking loved it. I was like, yes, now I want to win so bad just to fucking
I
shut
didn't know
them
that.
up.
I didn't know there was a through line.
Yes.
To the camp.
Like
I
that
just
I was
thought we'd
bringing it-
switch gears to talk about Kurt Angle, which I was totally down for.
Which, by the way, if anyone watches that documentary, I watched that and was like, that was the first time ever in my life that I thought, holy shit, there have been people out there that handled the training load of today's modern day CrossFitters. Like, it walked through his running regimen, his loaded running regimen.
But wrestlers
his
are
volume was
always
just through
doing
the roof.
crazy shit, right?
Like real wrestling? Are you talking about
shoot
sport
wrestling.
wrestling?
Shoot wrestling,
Yeah. Yes, it's usually pretty high, but a lot of it is mat time and like a little bit of gymnastics, like pulling stuff, and being on like bikes or running. He was like putting people on his back and running up hills and doing actual weight training. They said, one of the guys said that in one of his training sessions, he did 65 back squats with 365. So like to handle, I'm not talking about like, even if he just did it in sets of 5 or whatever, just to handle that training volume plus 6 hours a day of wrestling, plus long running, plus hill running.
Yeah.
That to me is like, oh, that's what a Rich Froning or
the
a
cumulative
Travis
volume
or,
over time.
Yeah, and I'd never seen that before. So watching that was pretty cool to like be like, holy shit, these people are like next level fit.
That
What
sounds
is-
interesting to me.
Did you wrestle growing up?
Yeah.
What is it about those guys that are like, y'all are some crazy motherfuckers?
You know, I think it's just a really hard sport. You go into a room with all of your friends and they turn the heat on and you basically
They turn the heat on.
Yeah. Yeah, because
That's
almost
that in
everybody's
basketball,
cutting weight.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
they turn the heat on. So the room gets over 100 degrees. So you're basically in like a mini sauna and you're beating the shit out of your friends, right? Like,
Now, why did you get involved?
my dad was judoka in the Olympics in 1964. So like we didn't really have a choice to get into combat sports. I think I started judo at 3 and I did that. It wasn't really like a real sport.
When
in
you
the
say you didn't
US.
have a choice, does that mean like it was like you didn't want to and you did it, or it was just you were just pushed into it and you didn't realize it?
I think we didn't want to do it. You know, like I see all these kids and they get like brought into jujitsu and you see what it's like with
Adam's kids are doing
yeah,
it.
yeah. And then you go into a class and you do some calisthenics. There's a little bit of like gymnastics, learning how to move, learning how to roll. My dad was not like that. He was a very poor, violent athlete that basically made it out of his country with violence, basically becoming a high profile athlete and then moving to the States. And that's like, it's almost like, oh, I'm going to teach you. Like, I'm going to teach you what I knew. This is the most valuable thing that was in my life. It allowed me to get out of my country and live the American dream. So we were like put in boot camp. Like when you say you're doing it, it's like, it was very challenging and unfun. And we were drilling, like it wasn't like learning and playing like you do with your friends. So I think I became really good at it over the years. To speed the story up, I started that at 3, transitioned to wrestling at like 8. I did some like youth wrestling and won states and was like a really talented youth wrestler.
At any point in between, are you now seeking it out for your own pure enjoyment, or you're still just like, well, Dad wants me to do this?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh no, now especially through jiu-jitsu and martial arts, I think.
No, I meant at that age.
That age?
Or wherever you just fast forwarded to.
Oh no, I was only at 10 years old.
Okay, but at that point, have you grown to love it internally for yourself, or is it still just like
I hated it?
Oh, okay.
Absolutely hated it. And then I fell in love with football. So I stopped wrestling entirely from 10, 11, 12, then 13. The high school wrestling coach like basically recruited me to come be part of the team because my brother was a senior and had just like won the section championship and made it to states. And I fully loved football, but I wasn't really like a world-class football player. Like I hit hard, I was violent, I had really quick hands, but like I wasn't super fast or super explosive. So the writing was on the wall that I probably wasn't going to be a pro football player, even though that was where like my heart was. But I had a lot of talent for wrestling, mat control. So I got back in at 8th grade and was really doing it because I wanted to be around my brother because he was wrestling. And he went on to college.
I was better. You were the bro.
I ended up becoming better over the years.
Yeah,
but
screw that guy. Hey, Brandon, did you wrestle? I know you played football. Did you wrestle?
I played football.
Why not?
Yeah, because the spring. So in Florida, it was at the same time as weightlifting, and so I chose weightlifting.
Wait,
Just wanted to get
y'all
strong.
did proper like Olympic
Yeah, so
weightlifting?
Florida's one of the few states that has
It's
sanctioned
different,
weightlifting. It is different,
Right?
yeah. So they now they only do a clean and jerk and then a bench press.
Yeah.
But it's still it's awesome.
That
It's a lot of fun.
backwoods weightlifting, boy.
Yeah.
I was actually
That's
telling
swamp
someone
people.
at the camp yesterday. They asked what I did in high school, and I told them weightlifting, and they asked the same thing. Like, wait, that was a real sport? I remember I made like the state finals my junior and senior year. There was a kid there that was in the 139-pound weight class. So like all those CrossFitters out there think like this is like one of the
smaller human.
Yeah, it's a tiny person.
Yeah.
And he squat clean like clean and jerked. I think it was 405 or 410.
What?
And then he did
At 139
yeah,
pounds?
yeah.
Come on, dude.
And
Y'all
then-
had fake weights.
no.
Oh,
And then
my
like a
God.
361 or something. Like it was just over 360 bench.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
There were always some people that like just in the weight room moving weights were all like they were just built different.
Yeah.
Like they just had steel for tendons.
It really is. But you think about how small someone is. I wanted to go back just real quick. 'cause this
I
is
didn't
something-
finish my story.
I know, sorry.
Oh, it's okay. No,
I don't
you
think
guys
we have
tell
any
me.
through
Yeah,
line
yeah,
here.
yeah.
We're just shooting the
Yeah.
shit.
I think there's a through line. Like he's talking
guess,
about
yeah.
the childhood up
Yeah.
into where he is today, and some people have heard that story before. And I want you to finish it. But the
Yeah.
cool thing, and this is another off-topic piece, kind of. You talked about your dad and the only things that he knew, but through that process, you learned things that then you can pass on to other people. Like
Yeah.
what things that he did poorly, what things did he do well, whatever those are, and like you have to learn from those. And I think it's the same thing is true with coaching, right?
Yeah,
Like you got mentors, maybe they make mistakes or you make mistakes and you learn from those and then you can pass those on to other people.
Yeah. Was that a question?
No, it's just like a statement. I
Oh,
think
yeah,
it's- everyone has that story in life of certain people that have impacted them negatively and positively. And it's learning from those experiences, passing on the things that are really good, and then cleaning up the things that were really bad from those experiences.
Yeah. And also probably just in reality, making your own mess ups. Right? Like,
Yeah.
every situation kind of has a little bit of pros and cons into it.
Sure.
Like you try to be protective to your children and then they might end up soft and inexperienced in life.
sure.
If you try to push them out too much, they could get traumatized. Like there's just like, I don't think there's like easy answers to that
For
type
sure.
of stuff.
You didn't finish your story though.
Oh, so 9th grade, I got into wrestling. I made the varsity team and was like kind of like just an average wrestler. And then my sophomore year, I got big and strong real quick. I went from like 160 pounds to 230 pounds. And my bench press went like over 315 pounds real quick. Go ahead. You
That's
had a
something
question.
I want to ask about. Remind me to come back. You can finish that, but I want to ask about anybody, male, female, who experienced training during puberty?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
That's a good conversation.
Yes.
All right, I'll get through this quick.
Speed it up. We're on the clock.
So I did really well my sophomore year. Then I got injured and was out all junior year. So then I went and senior year and I had a very good, very highly recruited season, but I still hated wrestling. Like I hated everything about it. Cutting weight, wearing leotards, like the whole thing was just a big turnoff to my psyche.
That kind of sucks.
Yeah.
That takes out a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure. It does. Yeah.
That's the only reason I didn't do it.
Yeah.
I would have been in there.
Yeah. Then I did a 5th year in high school, and I got recruited to go to Lehigh to play football, which was 1AA and had a
You're just going to skip over the fact you did 5 years of high school? What happened?
My junior year was a little bit of a fall. Well, I graduated in 4 years, but you could. Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah. You were too dumb to graduate. Oh man, I was trying to do the story quick so we can get to the weightlifting.
I don't know. That
and
part's
puberty.
too good. What happened?
So my junior year, I got hurt, and
Couldn't do math no more?
yeah, pretty much. My identity was wrapped up in being an athlete. So, and I think it was my outlet for like all this rage that was coming out with puberty, and just like the whole process of coming of age was hard, and I had no sport outlet, and I just kind of like stopped going to school, stopped caring, stopped doing my homework. I think I had like 100 absences my junior year.
What?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
That's half the year.
And I still passed 3 classes.
That's wild.
I would show up. I remember this. There are going to be people that struggle in school that maybe hate me for this, but I showed up. There's a thing in the New York called the Regents exams, and they're like the standardized testing of New York. And the chemistry one was supposed to be super hard. Like the fail rate of people taking the Regents was, I don't know, it was like 80%. And I had 80 absences or something like that. And I got like a 68 on the exam and passed above the threshold, and half of the class failed. And they like, 2 of my friends from the football team fucking hated me, but somehow I passed those classes. But that really impacted my recruiting, because then it was like, okay, this kid's an A student his freshman year, his sophomore year, he has this great season in 2 sports. And then now in his junior year, when all the recruiting is done, he's failed 3 classes, he has shoulder surgery, and he breaks his ankle. So there's not like Division I programs that are like amped up on this kid who's disengaged from school and injured. They don't even know if I'll come back. So
At that point, did you think you were gonna? Could you see the writing on the wall when the things you just said to us? Could you see that like you probably weren't going to be recruited? Or
yeah, I knew.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's part of why I spiraled, because like I was looking at it like I was going to get a scholarship to go to school, and I was going to become an athlete, and that was going to be my whole focus in life.
Yeah.
And then you take that thing away, and I didn't really care about school. I didn't see the value in learning academics and reading, and my parents weren't at home that much at the time, so I had no real accountability. So I kind of just like did whatever I wanted. I would like wake up late and play video games and just go to school 4th period. And people would be like, trying to get me to do shit. And I was
What would
like,
the teachers say?
Nothing, because I was huge and scary and like had anger problems. No one said shit. Yeah. Yeah.
Just go ahead and sit down.
Yeah. I mean, whatever. It is what it is.
Sorry, little transition here. Back in your wrestling days, in the high school days, did you ever see pro wrestling like WWE?
Yeah, I thought it was such a joke.
Yeah.
I was like, this isn't real. One of my best friends was like huge into it, and they were super wealthy, so they'd go to like sit in front rows at these big WWE.
So you missed out on all the good shit?
There had to have been one of the big companies is in Connecticut, no?
WWF.
Yeah, he used to go back when it was like top.
You ever
level.
heard of them?
And I got invited all the time, and I was like,
dude, one of my biggest regrets is they came one of the all-time. I think it's the first time that Stone Cold versus Vince McMahon at Valentine's Day Massacre. That was a pay-per-view name, right? And they did it in Memphis, and I got invited to go, and then I don't even remember why at this point, but I didn't go, and that is like an iconic, like tip of like a top 10 moment in all of WWE, and I could have been there.
I just read something on Vince McMahon, whatever he bought it for. Do you know those
for $1 million?
It was like,
and
was
he
that
just
what it was?
sold
And it was like
$7 billion or something.
like the
$9
return
billion.
on that is just incredible.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
But that dude's like the real motherfricker, though.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the high school thing.
Yeah, so I had I ended up getting my shit back together. I had a very good academic senior season. I did well in both football and wrestling that season, but it's too late because your recruiting season is happening after people have already got signing letters. So I had like schools that were interested in having me there, but no scholarships, nothing that was exciting to me. So there's something you can do after graduating called a postgraduate year at private schools. And basically you go there, you do a 5th year of high school, you can take whatever classes you want, and you just play sports. So the private schools basically can get higher level athletes.
So you did that. You didn't do 5 years.
I didn't do like a
high school?
5th year, like I didn't graduate.
Were you taking college classes?
I think I took one college
Something
class.
that would roll over for credits?
Yeah. And then everything else, I tried to just take like easy classes.
Yeah,
Like I took
yeah.
Spanish 1, even though I had already taken 3 years of
You've gone through
Spanish
it.
in high school. And like at that time, it was just like I wanted to be an athlete.
Sure.
So I didn't really think about my brain.
Here's a question. You said you hated wrestling.
Yeah.
You were really good at it. So obviously that offsets. But were there things that you actually learned from the sport, or was it just there was so much hate that you didn't really pick up some of the value? Because the reason I asked that is the wrestling friends I had in high school, it seemed like they got over their fear of certain things, or
Yes.
they learned teamwork, because even though it's an individual sport, they were fighting in that hot room with all of their other friends. And it's like it really kind of shaped them as young men to what they're doing today.
I don't think at the time I was able to like we talked earlier, there's always pros and cons. Like CrossFit, it's great. You're going to get stronger. You're going to get more enduring. If you're doing it from a sport perspective, though, your joints are probably going to hurt a little bit, right? Like
Not mine.
everybody else. Back then, I think I had just my own issues I was dealing with. There was a lot of, there's just family strife when your dad is your coach and it's his sport. And I didn't like the way that he was coaching me in the process. And then we got other coaches, and I like eating. So like my natural weight is probably like somewhere between 230 and 240 if I'm just like eating okay, and then it goes down into like the 220 range if I like really eat clean. And I was about the same size back then, but the weight class then was 197 in college or 285. So it was either like, okay, I'm gonna have to get as lean as I ever am and then try to cut 20 pounds to make weight every time and be like the same size as people, or I'm gonna be very small relative to the super heavyweight people.
Which did you do?
Well, I stopped wrestling my first year of college.
Okay.
I didn't
Because
do
of
it
that?
in college. Yeah, in high school there was a 215 weight class, so there
Right,
was a
right.
weight class that was like I had
It
to cut
worked
a
for you.
little bit of weight, but not that much. Then it gets to the next level in college. Like
I remember in my high school, our wrestling coach would walk around the cafeteria during lunch hours and like make sure the wrestlers were not overeating.
yeah, because you have to make weight every
Really is
time.
crazy.
So like the pros of it, I feel like now in hindsight I can see, and like when I go and do modern day jiu-jitsu, I can feel like the toughness, the stiffness, the hip base, the trust and body control. Like if you're training with somebody, like obviously we're not in a sparring situation, so we're not trying to hurt one another. But if I like, let's say I pick your leg up and I'm going to pick you up to my shoulder and then put you down to the ground, there's some level of trust that like I can control my body enough on the way down not to land on your ribs.
right.
Like if you're sparring, that stuff like could just happen. But when you're with training partners on a regular basis, you develop such a sense of brotherhood. Cause like, or in jiu-jitsu, like somebody's literally got their arm around your neck that if they wanted to, they could kill you. But there's a sense of trust that like, oh, we're learning this skill together and we're both simultaneously going to try to build the skill of being better at violence and controlling ourselves in self-defense, but also protect our training partners so that we can keep doing it on a regular basis. So I didn't feel all those things back then because I was only consumed with the pressure, the expectation, the weight cut, being starving on a regular basis. And I didn't have a good sense of work ethic when I was younger. Like I was a high talent, low potential athlete, high potential, low effort athlete, which I think over time made me a better coach because as I learned the work ethic that was required to get to higher and higher levels athletically, that's what I would hold my athletes to. But when I was in my quote unquote prime as an athlete, I didn't do that. I made those mistakes and then realized when it was too late or after I'd moved on from the sport, like, oh, I really didn't like give my best effort. I didn't know it at the time. I thought I was like crushing it and training hard, but really I just didn't know what the people that were winning were really doing. And I don't think I wanted to work that hard because I didn't love it.
So here's my through line from the original question, which was talking about learning from your experiences and learning from your dad, whether those things were good or bad, right? How do you learn from your experience then? So like you went through it, you hated it. There's still some things, obviously, like you just said, that have created you into the person you are today.
Yeah.
What are the things then when you see a high-level athlete or an athlete that wants to be a high-level athlete that maybe has some tendencies like you did or the complete opposite? How are you handling those types of interactions?
This ties into the camp theme a little bit. I think that the number one thing that I encourage, like at the end of the day, that's self-sabotage behavior. Like you say, okay, I want something, but I'm going to do all this stuff over here that's going to sabotage my likelihood of getting it. Some people are aware of that it's happening. I was a kid. I wasn't really aware that I was self-sabotaging.
When you're that young, it's hard.
Yeah. I was just living my life, and I thought I was, I thought I was the shit probably back then. But now I recognize that all those patterns of behavior are really the things that were stopping me from getting the outcomes that I said that I wanted. So I feel like it's one of my big jobs as a coach to help people with that self-awareness process, to see, are your behaviors and actions lining up with your words? Are you really aware of what you say you want and then what's required to get what you want? And like the corpus animus, this is a corpus animus podcast. It's basically the unification of your mind and your body. Your body is going to do all this work in the gym, but most likely your mind's going to hold you back from getting your goals at a competition, self-doubt, anxiety, fear, if you don't like it, right? Like you hear some people like, oh, I love competing. I get so excited. There's so much energy. And then other people like, I'm going to throw up before everything. This is awful, whatever. Like those patterns of behavior and thought and thinking, they need to be addressed as early as possible. For me, I think I started that process so late. Like I feel like I'm going into my athletic maturity well later than I'm going into my coaching maturity.
Right.
Because I basically like stopped being an athlete and just like, I would go into the gym, but I was really doing it like to compete or to get ready for the open. I wasn't like, I didn't have a clear training goal where it was like, oh, this is what I want from my training. I was just learning and working hard. Then when I started to say like, okay, I want to try to think of myself like an athlete again, to hold myself disciplined and to see what I could learn about the process, I realized like, oh shit, I've changed in how I operate from being coach, business owner, giving people advice. Now it's like easier for me to put it into place. It's just like, I'm not going to be an athlete now as a 37-year-old person.
Yeah. I think there are two different things that I've seen with self-sabotage. There is that unintentional, which is probably you as a kid. Like you're just young, you're dumb, you're doing it because you have these pressures from the outside. You go through it, whatever.
Yeah.
And then there's intentional self-sabotage, which is what we probably see in the sport more often, that people think it's unintentional, but in reality, they're afraid of success, they're afraid of failure, or whatever else it may be. Yeah. And so there are these little choices that they make throughout their training journey that leads them to intentional failure because of the fear of putting themselves out there, exposing themselves, hitting a 1RM in front of people. They're worried about, oh, I may miss this. I don't want people to think poorly of me, so I'm just not going to do it. Those kind of things. Have you had those types of athletes? Have you had those different scenarios? And then how are you dealing with those now as a coach?
Yeah, now probably not, because I can very much self-select who I work with. And generally speaking, the people that are like, hey, I want to win and I'm doing the things that are required to win and I'm listening, I feel like that's just such an easier coaching process. And that's, I don't know, that's just, I guess, something I need to be grateful for. But earlier, when I encountered those people, I just fired them. Like well before it got to the point
as soon as you knew, like, okay, that's that type of person.
I'm like, hey, we're working remotely and I'm putting hours into your program design and watching your videos, whatever, and I'm writing a training session and I need your results to know how that session went, how that felt. I didn't get it. Next day, where are my results? Didn't get it. Third day, fired. Now I'm much more patient. Like I even have young athletes right now that
you have a little more empathy.
Yeah, like I'll wait 3 days or I'll wait till the end of the week and make sure that I'm just getting some results. But I think in the early days of coaching, I was just dealing with the cutthroatedness that I was raised with as an athlete, and that was my framework for how you coach someone, because that was all I knew. Then I started coaching people, and then coaching CrossFit was interesting because it's going into a completely different type of sport. Both football and wrestling are very combative. Like, they're not the same. You got to learn how to run and jump and whatever, but like, you're hitting people and you're running and there's violence. And if you don't have the violence component taken care of, you're almost guaranteed not to excel in those sports. So you do kind of develop a much more gritty person in those sports. When you get into CrossFit, you got to be tough, but in a different way. It's like, it's more of an endurance sport. It's more about managing your breathing and your respiration and managing your aggregate training load months after months after months. And that was very unfamiliar to me. So I think I just made a lot of mistakes that way and then learned it over time.
Yeah. What would you say to the athlete though that signed up to be a games athlete or make it to semifinals or to, get that first muscle up, that is intentionally sabotaging themselves by making decisions because they're afraid of what people think of them or even the success or failure that may come?
Yeah. I mean, I think just getting support, just finding people I think it requires deeper introspection, right? Like, you have to figure out, if you're afraid of success, why? And people struggle with that concept. You're like, oh, well, who's afraid of money or fame or glory, whatever? But I do think that it's a real thing. And a little example to tie back to our earlier story. The second I won that game, the cone grabbing game, and maybe I didn't win. We need to do a video review to see if she grabbed the cone and I pulled it out, or if I got the cone first. But I immediately felt guilt. Like, immediately was thinking, like, why did I just like get so fired up to win this freaking camp game? And like, immediately,
I'm not a good winner either.
Yeah. Well,
I feel like the way I feel after winning is the guilt thing is just makes it where I'd rather just not win.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so it's different situations. Like there are some times where I win and like inside I'm like,
you've never felt bad winning in a CrossFit workout or something like that.
Yeah. But like, there are situations where you don't like it. If people don't like attention, or they have parts of their past that they don't want people to ask about, your subconscious, I think, kind of knows, like, all right, well, if you win the games, you're going to have a camera in your face with somebody like this all the time. They're going to be going through your past, and people are going to be telling stories about you. And I do think that there is a component of fear of success. There's also fear of failure. You don't want to put yourself out there and look like an idiot and then have haters on the internet shitting on you. Yeah. But I think that either one of those things. Yeah. But people, I think, just need to like either find psychologists, good coaches. Like, it depends on the level of what they're dealing with. Like, if they are PTSD because they had this stuff in the past that they don't want to come up, whatever, like, you might need psychiatry and psychology. If you're just like a 17-year-old punk and you just like think you know everything and you're making bad decisions, then I think it's more of just like, for me, when I encounter those situations, it is slow and consistent messaging. Like, I know I'm not going to get the behavioral change right away, but I'm going to just keep reminding, like, hey, this is what we need to do. This is the most important thing. And then hopefully they recognize, oh, this is the behavior I need to do to win. He keeps saying it, whatever. Try it. It starts to work, and then it builds momentum and builds steam.
Yeah. Mia's talk at the camp, I think, like, really solidified this, and the concept of relatedness. It's essentially having your inner circle, having this team. And, I don't, she's had a couple different slides, but one of the big ones, or I'm probably going to screw this up, but you want to believe in others and you want others to believe in you. That's your inner circle, right? That helps with the self-sabotage thing, because then the fear of failure is not just like, I'm only identifying in myself, but I have this team around me that's going to hold me accountable, so that when I do fail, we can learn from it. If I do succeed, they cheer me on, those kind of things. And that, to me, I think was a really powerful talk. It was really cool listening to her stories too. We should post that at some point. Are we going to post?
Yeah, I think
that was cool.
Or have her on.
Sorry. I'm screwing up. We're going to have her on. She can talk about it. But I just thought it was really cool because she told these stories of the different teams that she's been on over the years. Her process of going from an athlete that really wasn't that good at anything.
We could say she sucked. No,
I'm just kidding. I mean, she just is so much relative to where she is now. She did suck. Yeah. She was good, but now she's great. And it was the team that that she brought around herself that pushed her to that next level. And it's just really cool to kind of talk about all of those people that helped her in that journey.
Yeah. I think that's true for everyone. Like the more I just watched a little bit of the Breakpoint. It's like the tennis documentary on Netflix.
I heard it's amazing.
It's great. I didn't realize, I thought I'd watched it back in the past, but I think I had not finished the last 3. So I had 3 more episodes to go through. And it's just amazing. Like you see these people and they got entourages of 20 people, constant massage work, full-time chefs, friends that come with them to the competitions that are with them all the time, sports psychologists. And I think the top level people in the world that make a lot of money, they pay for that support. When you go down like into the realms of CrossFit, there's obviously not as much money. And then into the realms of like, hey, I'm just training and like want personal development and GPP, you're not getting paid anything. It's costing you.
Yeah, you're paying.
But no matter where you are on that spectrum, you need a support squad. And the support squad, if you're a pro athlete, might need to be like professionals and sponsored relationships or professional relationships. But as you get down into the realms of just a regular person, it's, you know, your spouse, your friends, your training partners, your coach, or somebody you can get coaching guidance from. And the people that you see that are successful and that like I see that come to the camps year after year after year are coming with the same people and they're coaching and they have these networks of people that keep them accountable. And it's something I'm even learning right now. I've tried to coach myself many times for many years. And I just was like, I need to take this decision making off my head and I need more accountability. Like I come into a session and let's say I'm tired. I did a podcast in the morning. I had to do program design, emails. I've been sitting, not eating properly all day. It's 4:00. I have a training session written. What do I do? Do I go hard in it? Do I make it easier? Do I skip it and move it to another day? I was getting like decision fatigue from knowing if I was making the right decisions or not. So I hired Adam and Mike to help me just like, hey, give me a structure to follow. And then like, if I need to make adjustments or if I need to make changes, I'll make them. And then I had Frank come to the session so he could be there with me so that I had accountability to the process. And even just doing it for like 6 weeks, I'm like, oh my God, this is like, gets me out of my own way. Like from an athlete perspective, I think I'm much more disciplined on the other side of life with business and coaching. But for me, that athletic journey is hard to manage because of the same life stuff everybody deals with. And I'm not a pro athlete. So it's been interesting to like for that talk specifically that Mia gave to hear it and then like feel my own journey, my own struggles in it, which I guess is why anyone does those talks, right? To like help relate to other people.
For sure. Chris, this was completely off topic for the first 35 minutes.
Yeah, what was our topic?
we thought we might come in and talk about some behind the scenes stories from the Ruck run and from Travis's row.
Yeah.
We don't have to do that
By the
anymore.
way, well, since you brought it up, I've had like 4 people come up to me and like, dude, why were you bragging that you were way out in front? It's like, I did not say that. And now I feel like really like self-conscious about it.
I didn't think you were bragging that you were way out in front.
That's not what I meant at all.
I heard Mike talk shit to him.
Yes,
I mean, it
Mike got in my head.
Yeah, Mike.
I did purposely edit your
Mike came up to him at the camp and was like, Brandon whining about being all the way out in front. I've never been way out in front of endurance race. And I was laughing, but when I heard Brandon say it, I was thinking that could get kind of boring. Like you're in a hard ass race.
That's genuinely what I meant.
Yeah,
it was very challenging the last lap because there was no one around. I was just like, man, I should just walk the whole thing. And then Mike is like, oh yeah, you're bragging because you're out in front. It's like, I swear that's not what I meant.
Yeah. That's also editing. I feel like
No, he said it.
It did come out of his mouth.
Man.
But I didn't take that as bragging. I understood what
Okay.
you meant. Like, screw this. Like,
Maybe you should brag. We're gonna teach you how to become a heel, Brandon. We're gonna lean into
I can't.
it.
I don't want that role. I don't. Yeah, man, that was an awesome weekend. It really is cool. And Chris, you did a great job on the compiling all that and editing it together. But like we had a team here helping everyone that wanted to make Rogue. We had a team over at Kyle's house for the Ruck Challenge. We had people doing the Ruck all over the U.S. and the world, and it's just cool that the community has continued to grow in that way.
Yeah, the pickle thing, I love pickle Rick. It's hysterical, but also there's no context that Kyle Ruth is the pickle guy because he drinks pickle juice all the time and has done research on cramping for the last 10 years.
He had pickle juice with him. He's like, Haley, get the pickle juice. He did it. I swear. Was that in there?
I put there's There's a pickle juice image in there.
Okay.
When Max says he's the pickle juice
Oh,
champion.
but yeah.
On his way in the truck back to his house, he was yelling at Haley to get the pickle juice.
Yeah, that's why I felt the same like guilt you have. I feel like I watch videos like that and instantly like something I'm like, oh, I regret saying that, or that didn't come out well, or that person's gonna hate me for saying that. But one of the things I thought was Kyle Ruth, where I was like, it's so funny that it's Kyle Ruth cramping that I'm just like laughing at his misfortune, but it really is so ironic that he has done. I can't tell you how many things that he's sent me on. Heat adaptation, cramping, like he is the.
We did a whole podcast on it, and he crushed it. I just asked him a question. He went for 10 minutes.
And then he cramped in DNF. I loved it. I feel so bad about it.
Oh man, he's gonna do it.
He was
again.
a good sport putting on the pickle suit though.
He was, yeah. That was fun filming that. Thanks for doing that, Chris.
Well, I got to that part where I was editing it, and I was like, I don't have any footage to bring this story to life, and I don't personally like doing stage shots. Like I'll do them if I absolutely have to, but I was like, how can we do this where we can stage it? Because I can't just have talking heads for this whole story.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh,
Yeah, so Chris texts in a group text.
Was it you? Were you the pickle?
no,
No,
Kyle was
Kyle was
actually
the Kyle. Oh,
So
He
he
should post the
texts
behind
Kyle.
the scenes of Kyle
Yeah.
because he did a good job.
Well, that's
and
the-
he was in character. He's like, oh,
So he's like, hey,
and
can you
his
guys
neighbors
meet?
are out watching.
Yes, yeah. He's like, can you guys meet at 4 p.m. at Kyle's house?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, sure, no problem. So drive over there. Sure enough, he has a pickle suit.
And you didn't know?
We've got rucks. I didn't know what he was filming. I thought we were just gonna do like another sit down interview or whatever. Got the rucks. We got water bottles to pretend like we're actually out there rucking. He's like wetting us down. Like it was a full production, but it really was funny because Kyle put this pickle suit on, and we walked down his road like, you know, I don't know, maybe 250 yards, and all his neighbors are out there watching. People are driving by, like staring at him, and
Big
it was
6 foot tall pickle.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
great. It was
It
awesome,
was pretty funny.
and
Yeah.
the drone footage, man. Whoever did that drone footage,
Yeah.
Was it you?
spectacular. Not the pickle one, but the flying over the lake.
Yeah, that was you.
Yeah, did you like
That's his
it?
drone.
It was good.
I crashed mine years ago and have never bought another
I
one.
thought you crashed yours one time.
I did, and then
You had it fixed or
I ended up
something?
getting it fixed.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it was only $75.
Screw
So I
those
did it.
things. Yeah, but see, I crashed mine and then had to pay $250 to get it fixed. And then as soon as I got it fixed, the first time I fly it out here,
Yeah.
hits a telephone wire and then fucking falls on some guy's
Yeah.
truck and it's done for.
This
me.
is
If they hit something,
yeah.
I mean, they're
this
done.
is Chris. It hits a telephone like as if he's not in control.
No,
of
I
that.
was way up here and it was way down there. And basically a truck was coming. So I was like, and I'm so far away. I was like, I can't tell if this truck's about to hit it because I was following some people running. And so I just was like, well, let me lift it to make sure this truck doesn't hit it. And then there's a telephone wire I can't see from this far. And it hits it and then falls. And I was like, oh, well.
Yeah.
They
there's
are
that.
gigantic telephone wires. It's like you can't miss them.
$3,000 just down the drain. No big deal.
Is that how much they are?
Well, because I bought it when it was brand new. It
Yeah.
was like $2,000. Then I paid the
Oh,
money to fix it.
Now they're like $500. It's still expensive,
Yeah.
but it's just
Yeah,
like
yeah. The
flat
tech.
screen TVs and all that. I mean, it's
Yeah.
crazy how they just keep getting a little bit more efficient.
half. I forget what the rule. It's like half the cost and twice the speed of,
Yeah.
is
With
all
computers.
technological
Yeah.
stuff.
Well, the new Quest VR goggles are going to come out. The Quest 3, I guess. And I heard Mark Zuckerberg say that it's like basically what you just said, Max, where it's like way better than the last one that came out at half the price. I'm like, man, the last one came out like 9 months ago. I'd be pissed.
I know. Well, that's how they do it with everything. I mean, Tesla just did that. I know, Chris, I've talked to you, but for those Tesla fans out there, all of their cars were like 70, 80, 90,000. Now you can get a Model 3 for 35 plus a tax credit. It's cheaper than a Toyota Corolla now. It's really incredible, the process. And part of that is like they don't have unionized workers, so they can make them a little bit cheaper and faster and all that. But like it's almost like as they become more efficient, you can undercut the market a little bit more.
Did you have any more rogue stories, Max, from after that video?
The only thing that it definitely wouldn't be in like a highlight video or like a story video was David Bradley was doing.
Oh, yeah.
Rogue.
I had to cut
Yeah,
David.
we cut him. He did it. So Saturday, I think it was Sunday. So David was doing the workouts. We didn't prepare for it. He was completely underprepared. He's basically just been doing strength work. But I was like, hey, when these qualifiers come up, let's go into them and just start to refine our process. Because we've only done the only competitions we've really ever done together, quarterfinals with 2 years ago, which was literally the first time I saw him. So I hadn't assessed him or whatever. So I couldn't really coach him. And then this year, open quarterfinals and some little qualifiers throughout, but nothing really meaningful. So we did quarterfinals this year, and I'm like, hey, there's just more things that we need to work on in terms of your process. How do you deal with your pacing, your strategy, your setup? How do you warm up when you get a random workout, facing the nerves, the pressure, the anxiety? So let's just do anything that comes out. And I thought it might be good to just like, in the event there's a workout that he was going to crush, maybe he could do it. That could help Travis with a pace or a model, or knowing like expectations if there were weird workouts. So he did it one workout per day. And on Sunday, we said, hey, be here by 12. And he thought that be here by 3 because the gym he thought was open till 3. So he missed the window, and I came back at like 8 p.m. on Sunday. So I had been all day Friday, all day Saturday. Sunday came in the morning to work out with Travis. Think I'm done so I could go home and chill before Monday. And then come back here at 7 p.m. to do the workout. Dave's mom and dad came, and we do the legless rope climb workout. And I'm like in the headspace, like I'm going to push him to be more aggressive. That's what the goal of this thing is to just keep finding our limits and keep pushing to get as good as we can. So we get all set up. That workout takes a while to set up and film and get the freaking height of the rope and all the lines and good to go. 3, 2, 1, go. He goes through the first round. Great. He's looking great. Does his first rope climb. And I'm like, ooh, that looked really hard. So I looked at him and I was like, all right, what do you think about 30 seconds? And he like shook his head, yes. And I thought 30 seconds was pretty conservative because like, I don't know, Travis must have rested 5 seconds between rope climbs.
He's also amazing at rope climbs.
And his grip endurance is good. So pairing those two things. So I thought I picked like a conservative thing, and he goes to go and climb up. And like he gets halfway up, and you can tell like as he's going to pull this arm off, this one's like coming down a little bit. Bad feeling. And he's like going up. Just
not moving.
Yeah, and I'm under him like, oh my God. We still have 4 rope climbs to do. He goes to like get up, and he's maybe a foot from the top and just like literally free falls. Like his hands are on it, but he free falls and falls down, lands on his feet, right on his butt. And I look at him like, holy shit. And he's like, I'm like, are you okay? And he's like, yeah, I'm okay. He finishes the workout. He doesn't finish the whole workout, but he keeps going through. He ended up having another fail, and it was like, if you get to that level of failure, it's not going to go well. But he goes through that, and then the funny part of the story, like the good part of it, the part that I remember is after that workout, we're walking around talking, kind of like processing. And I know like not a great experience to have to deal with. I know there's going to be some processing, some discussion, and his mom comes over and says something about performance. And he goes, did you just see I fell from 15 foot up? And I'm fine. I'm just built different. He was so fired up. And I was you are fucking built different, because I was scared as shit. You just fell like straight from the ceiling basically, and we're fine and just kept working out. No injury, no nothing.
Good for him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's tough when you start failing rope climbs. The same thing like a handstand push-up, anything where you just can't come back from that, especially not in a short workout, 10-minute window or something like that. It's really hard to stay focused. But to be a better athlete, especially in the sport of CrossFit with so many things to be good at, you have to have a professional mindset to some degree, right? Like those bad things happen. Okay, I'm going to finish this workout, and then I'm going to learn from that. I'm going to take the notes in like clearly, grip endurance or lat endurance, whatever it is, you guys now work on that. I think that's where most people fail though. They get so upset, and then they just like spiral out of control. 200 guys beat me in this workout. I'm never going to make it. Instead of saying, where is the separator for me and how do I get better at it?
Yeah. That's playing the long game versus thinking you're going to win right away.
Right.
I think the idea of having people that just like charge into dominance right away, I think it's become a dream in the CrossFit space because CrossFit was so young and untrained. Right. So like
that's
Fraser
the Rich story, the Fraser story.
Yeah, they come in and it's like, oh, you're great right off the bat. Or you're already competitive at a world-class level. That I don't think is going to exist anymore. I don't think there's any sports that you can just do and then you come into this sport and you're already good at snatching, clean and jerk, handstand walk, handstand push-up, muscle up, bar muscle up. There's just so much of a skill threshold that even if you're strong in shape and mobile, you got to learn all those skills for a couple years and then figure out how to tolerate the intensity of the volume, or the intensity and volume together. Like the fact that Travis did, I don't know if I can really articulate how impressed I am by it, but to do 2 workouts basically on Friday, Saturday, 1 workout on Sunday, and then 3 of those workouts on Monday, and like not be ruined from it, it just boggles my mind. Because he like went to compete at Madrid 10 days later and was fine and took second. Third, sorry. Annika took second. That would have given me soreness or crippledness for a month.
Yeah, I mean, he's just so resilient to that. He always has been.
Yeah.
That's what makes him so good. One of the reasons that he's as good as he is. It really is crazy because he did, 3 workouts on this past Saturday too, and he did that workout with us. He's just like perfectly fine. Me and Mike are like, okay, we can go sit down for a while.
Mike definitely more.
Yeah, it's impressive. But that's what you need in this sport now, especially with the demand of a long season. And then he's doing, if you do Madrid and then Rogue and then Wadapalooza and then you do the season again, the games has 15 workouts over the course of 4 days. You have to be prepared for that.
I'll give you a story. So when I filmed the part in the video where it's talking about his double under mess up, well, I had heard that story because I wasn't there for it, and I had heard it.
You weren't there for it?
No.
That footage was from what? Travis's
From a
camera?
fucking iPhone. Yeah,
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
You couldn't tell that it looked like Dog D?
Come on, man. You always say that, but I don't pick up
Okay,
on those
well,
things.
that's
iPhones are decent now.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, I wasn't there for that. And when I had heard the story, in my head, I'm thinking he was at, rep 100 or rep 50. He was in the thick of the dumbbell unders, and then that's why. But no, you go back and look at it. He hadn't started, and there was already like a should we? And I was like, y'all didn't stop the man. But it was fine by me because it gave me a solid 5 minutes in the video
of something
drama.
to talk about.
Yeah.
I can't believe that no one said anything. But whatever.
Good time.
It doesn't matter for him, though.
Hey,
his double unders, it's too easy.
It's a good little learning mistake,
Yeah.
We all make our mistakes.
My point is it could have been way worse. Like if
Yes.
it was like 40 overhead
or
squats
if you
to
didn't
start
catch
to work
it, or
out.
if y'all never noticed and he submitted it,
And
that
then
would
he
have been
didn't
the
make
worst.
it. Yeah.
That is true.
Sorry, you had something?
No, I was trying to think of stories from Rogue, but I feel like all I can remember from Rogue now is the video.
Yeah.
I barely even remember I barely remember the real thing.
Yeah. Good times. You want to answer some rapid fire from Instagram and call it a day?
Sure.
All right. So
Hold on. Before we do those, what was our intended podcast? What's the title going to be now?
I have no clue. Wrasslin
Just hanging out.
versus Wrass. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, and we also never got to my topic from earlier where I interrupted and I said,
youth training.
but I want to
training
know
through
because
puberty.
I never trained till I was like 23.
Yeah.
And so I have this theory that because I look at like the kids who do train during puberty, and I'm like, I'm convinced that they get something that, like, you raise your ceiling or something. Something happens where it's like if you missed that, you missed out.
Like you missed
and
it
I want
for
to talk
life.
about that.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we have time now.
Yeah.
Should we just do another episode?
That's a deep dive, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I
How quick do you want me to
I mean, do it rapid fire, and maybe in the comments if y'all want us to blow this out, then we could do another one.
I think I've read some research in the past that what you do in that formative puberty years impacts you for life. Like if you've never done VO2 max train, it's the same thing for like endurance training. If you didn't endurance train, then you're going to basically be wired one way. And if you didn't, I think the same thing for strength training. Like if you don't do it through that window, there's something in there that actually does signal what your body needs to adapt and build towards.
I think that for sure.
Yeah.
But how much? That's what I want to know.
Well,
I'll have to do some
I mean,
research on
everyone's
that.
probably different, but I think I don't know what
the
I'm talking
training gains that I've seen in people at that
it's
age
incredible.
are huge,
Yeah.
even in myself.
I mean, the
like,
example of the weightlifter I was talking about earlier. Some
Yeah.
of those kids, I mean, they're 17
yeah.
and that strong. It really is incredible.
And
Right.
girls are 17 winning the
That's actually
games
another question that we had yesterday. I had a couple athletes come up after the camp that said they want us to do a podcast on strength training for women and what, if any, differences you should be thinking about for the sport of CrossFit. So that may be a good topic.
I'm glad you said that. I feel like I should add a considerations section to the strength course that talks about that.
Yeah.
Because there are some different principles. I
Right.
guess I could do it with my case studies. Anyways.
And especially in
questions.
CrossFit, you think
Yeah.
about gymnastic strength and some of the other things that we have to think about.
All right, let's do a quick rapid fire. Jarturo Flores says, coach's seminar / camp date. Did y'all announce a coach camp?
We canceled it.
Canceled it. Oh, sorry. Sorry. Bad news. Are we ever going to do one? Or
Yeah, maybe.
just didn't like the idea?
Yeah. Well, Kyle Ruth came up with the idea, and then I looked over like what the structure was going to be, and we're in the middle of filming courses, and I was like, I just don't think I have time to do both of these things. So my goal is to get all of our courses and our mentorship program into a state that it's
Maybe
ready to
way
go.
later in the future we do them.
Yeah, I don't think there will be anything until the off season of next year at the earliest.
All right.
But you guys are in the middle of a strength course right now, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The unsexy stuff is CrossFit dying. Quick, rapid response.
No.
Nice. Mark, what card games are you playing, Chris? Magic the Gathering, Pokemon Locana.
Is that one
Yeah,
game?
that
Is
was
that
Chris.
multiple
Yeah.
games?
3 games. Jackie, who would win an arm wrestle? In an arm wrestle.
Between
Between me and
Max.
him?
Yeah, go do it real quick.
Max,
The shoulder. I'd be like,
Max 100%. Look at those bear paws. Hey, but I will beat him in a 10-minute Echo Bike test.
by 100 cows.
DJ Hiller says, what's something you know now that you wish you knew 10 years ago? That pro wrestling is freaking
Yeah, that
sick.
pro wrestling is awesome.
We still
I
got to
would've
get
loved it.
Bianca
Oh
on
yeah,
here.
yeah. I can't wait to go see that.
Does it
But
have to
are
be
you
in
gonna
the
give a
sport?
real question, a real answer to that?
Does it have to be in the sport of CrossFit?
Just what's something you want to know?
He wants it to be so rapid fire. These
What's
are
some-
hard questions to
Yeah,
answer
I know.
quickly.
Okay, medium fire. What's something you know now that you wish you knew 10 years ago, Brandon?
It's not something that I know. I just wish I had more experience then on how to communicate with athletes. Like that just takes experience and time, and it would be really nice to go back to 2015 or 14 and have the same ability that I do now, which is going to be better in 10 years.
Yeah, I'm gonna just reiterate what Brandon says. The communication is more important than program design.
If you had to program the games but could only use one singular piece of equipment, what would you pick? That's a fun one.
I would just use a barbell.
Oh,
It has to be the Nordic bench.
the Nordic bench.
What do you call that thing? The thing that I
Oh,
use?
yeah, the thing, yeah.
What is that?
I don't know
What
what
would you call it? Is that a
I don't know
bench?
what it's called.
The Nordic?
Yeah, Nordic bench.
Okay.
Nordic machine.
I think a barbell is the only one you could get like any sort of
There's a lot of variance
rounded
there.
tests
Yeah,
and full body movements in.
right.
All right, easy enough. It's been a long time since you guys talked about golfing. Rapid fire. That's just a statement.
That is a statement. I haven't played. I canceled my golf membership.
So did I.
So I've just been hitting balls, and I'm not good. I wasn't good when I was playing all the time.
Hey,
either.
we're going to play soon, though.
That's true.
You said you committed to it.
Yeah, I did.
Hey, I did when in the documentary or the video that I put out, there was a section where Brandon says that Travis took a long time off, and so I wanted to like represent that because I knew he played some golf. So to get that little golf shot that's in the background when you say that, I went and found from a couple years ago when we podcast with Scott Stallings.
Yeah, I
And
saw that.
in that, when I watched that video, I was reminded at the very end there, he goes, "You guys are easily the best golfers in CrossFit I've ever played with." And then he says, "I'm calling you out." What's Matt Frazier's?
Matt O'Keefe.
Matt O'Keefe. I'm
Yeah.
calling you out. And now he works with them. I wonder if it still holds true. Are we still the best?
Yeah, well, we'd have to
Wouldn't it?
practice if we we're
Yeah.
going to have that match.
I think if we practice, we would be.
I mean, should we put out a golf program? Because I mean, then we could pit him against himself. So you could do HWPO golf, but
If
the
you lose to
HWPO
us-
golf guy says that we are the best.
He said
CrossFit
we're the
golfers.
best.
that's our pitch.
No, Scott was
I like
awesome
it.
though.
Yeah, he was.
Y'all should go watch that podcast actually, because when I pulled it up, it had 865 views, and I know it's like okay,
Yeah,
CrossFit,
people don't want to listen to
whatever,
the
Yeah.
but it was a solid episode.
good.
Yeah, we were
dude.
really excited about that. We went up. He took us out to one of the restaurants that he's a co-owner in, which
Oh
was
yeah,
awesome
dude, that
burger place.
Yes, burger
We-
place. What's it called? Do you remember?
Smash,
Smash
maybe?
Burger, maybe.
Yeah, something like that.
And it's in Knoxville, right?
Yeah,
It's in downtown Knoxville.
we
Yeah.
played golf and he dominated us.
Yeah.
Him and Travis, which was so unfair.
It's basically
because-
him,
Yeah, it was
but
just
He's a pro.
yeah. I mean, sometimes like I mean, shit. The video that I just put out has no views, but
Yeah.
you know, I
Yeah.
think it's okay.
Yeah, we did that, and we were like, "Oh, we're gonna make some golf content." We got no
Yeah.
views on that podcast,
Yeah.
and we're like, "Guess not. I guess people
Hopefully
don't want
the
this."
people who liked it.
Yeah.
Let's see. What's the
Hold
earliest?
on, real quick before we go on. This is a pet peeve of mine,
What?
and I know you're passionate about this as well, probably in a little bit of a different way. But CrossFit, one of the things is learn and play new sports.
Oh, my.
But everyone in CrossFit just wants to learn and play CrossFit, and so they're not interested in football or golf or basketball or wrestling, whatever it may be. Like maybe they played one sport and they look at that every once in a while, but that is really interesting to me. It's like we should kind of expand our horizons a little
What
bit.
new sport are you playing?
Well, I started playing golf. Like that was the thing. That was another outlet for me. And then like obviously like if we played spike ball all the time. Like I want to go and do other things outside of the gym. I think it really is healthy for us.
Dude, I so badly want to figure out how you could get so like that test we did at the camp, it's like stupid, but it actually does test a specific like reaction time, hand-eye coordinate. Like there is a real athletic thing that whatever is in there, you can develop and train. It would never be tested in CrossFit right now in the current format because a test of that it literally has to be like sub 5 seconds or sub 10 seconds. But it would be really fun if
Are you talking about the cone thing?
Yeah, the cone thing. Sorry. Grabbing the cone.
Yeah.
And doing it off of an audible cue. Like that's one of the things in sprint swimming and sprint running that separates is what is your reaction speed from the time you hear something till you move your body. And to me, that is like an important athletic quality. Like if you're about walk somewhere and you're about to walk into traffic and a horn honks or you catch a noise, like being able to react to external stimuli, I think is important. But I was always wondering, could we create tests or like head-to-head tournaments like that of things in CrossFit competitions and have just like one of the scores be like a games test or like they tried to throwing one and it just totally backfired. And I feel like because it backfired and it sucks so bad, no one ever went down the route of doing something similar. But I think it is, if we're really talking about
Like
things.
what would be your pick?
I don't know. I mean,
No, you got to do it. Rapid fire. Back to rapid fire.
for
You pick one sport thing that they could do.
all right, so with the baseball thing, if it was going to be that, I would say, okay, you have a
was it softball?
a softball. All right, you have a softball. You have a target on one side. You have to do a beep test. You run all the way down the field and back in a certain period of time, or 30 yards down and back in a certain period of time. You have a certain number of balls, and you have to throw those balls at the target, and you get some sort of points for when they go in. If you had something like that, you actually are trying to make like something exciting that does have an accuracy component. Rogue tried to do it that one year with shooting. They did ski and shooting. And I think there's something to that. I think we would need to think through the display of it. I was thinking as I've been playing table tennis because I really enjoy it and it's fun.
It is fun.
If you could pick like, okay, we're going to be on a 4-year cycle of a sport that we're going to do. Like it's going to be soccer or something like that. Then you could create like a field games test that tests some hand-eye coordination or head-to-head or like you're in a goal and I have to score on you and then we flip and you do like tournaments. That would suck to watch live. You'd have to like produce it, but I think you could make some sporting drama or people being like, this test sucks. I hate this shit. And other people like, oh, I think it's good to have sports in CrossFit. Yeah. So I've been dreaming of that.
Maybe just
Sorry, that was a long.
Let's just do thrusters.
let's see. What's the earliest Brandon has ever woke up? What's the latest Max has ever slept in?
Oh my God.
This is from
I
Mike.
got up at 3:30 on Sunday morning, but that was because of animals. But I didn't go back to sleep.
The latest I've ever slept in, like ever?
Sure,
That's the
I
question.
guess. Yeah.
Probably like 4 p.m. when I was in college,
Yeah,
hungover or
college.
something.
Dude, that-
Now,
That would drive me crazy.
Since kids, I have not slept past I think 7:20. I think that's the latest that I've seen on a weekend.
Oh man, I'm jacked up after that video. During the video, I got my second kidney stone. That happened at 2 a.m. and it lasted through about 6 whatever. So I didn't go to sleep. So that rocked my schedule. And then staying up till midnight-ish, editing those videos. I think just the light.
Dude,
That
you
late, my schedule's just fucked.
Yeah, you also looked like you were cracked out for 2 weeks. Every time I walked by, you were like fucking sweating, looking at the screen, tired in the darkness. And I was like, are you going to come out of your cave? Like, let's just cancel this video.
I don't think there's that at the very end, there's like a sarcasm, I hope people realize it's a joke that I'm like, this is a week I'll never forget. Okay. Yeah. That week I will forget probably, but making that video, I'll never forget that. That was quite the month.
Way to ruin. I thought you were like trying to be a motivational person. That really inspired me.
Yeah. Also, this is the best rapid fire ever that we just did.
And the whole time I have had to pee like a racehorse. Let's get out of here.
Hold on, finish. One word answers. Go.
What's the
We're really going rapid fire now.
What are we doing? What's
Rapid
the
fire,
question?
finishing.
I thought you had more questions.
Oh,
No?
there is one more. What are the strength standards behind RX weights? How much do you have to clean to RX 135? What does that even mean?
You only get one word to answer that question.
Yeah, what are the strength standards behind RX weights? Go.
Here, let me give you an explanation. Just kidding. All right, Chris, we're done.
I gotta pee.
Yeah, we're not answering that
Send me a
question.
message, email me, and
Yeah.
I'll answer that question.